violence, these rat bastards, he's pulling them out. He's cutting off their platforms. He sees that the so-called commander-in-chief isn't a commander-in-chief. So he rallies to get commercial airplanes up there to bring out American citizens. But what he doesn't tell you is that he's doing more than that. They're sending aircraft over there with drones, body armor, other things of that sort to try and fill the gaps that the Israelis have. We have some of these candidates who are really true believers, who are really good human beings. And I just want to say how proud I am to be here with so many of these people and so forth. Then finally, I know I'll say to myself, Mark, you forgot something. Well, doesn't matter. You can listen to my radio show. What's this West Bank stuff? 1948, Transjordan goes in and grabs Judea and Samaria. So now for the rest of the time, it's the West Bank. Jordan, that whole monarchy was created by the Ottoman Empire. It didn't exist 150 years ago. There was nothing on there about them. How many of you read the Bible from time to time? Well, show me where the Palestinians are in the Bible. My dad was a big supporter of Israel. My dad was a man of faith, my mother too, but not religious. 1964, I said to my father and mother, why did you vote for Barry Goldwater? He said, I knew that bastard Lyndon Johnson was lying about Goldwater, so I voted for Goldwater. That's how I grew up, right from wrong. As I get older, I get more religious, to be perfectly honest with you. But the bottom line is this. We can talk tough. We're not on the front lines. We can act tough, but we're not on the front lines. What they did in Israel is not only shocking, it requires retribution. I'm not interested in proportionality. I don't even know what the hell that means. Does that mean Jews go over there and behead babies? Is that proportional? That they rape Palestinian women? Is that proportional? Well, isn't that what proportionality means? But think about that. Can you even imagine Jews doing that to anybody? They view us as subhumans. It's time for us to view them as subhumans. And then I do have one other point I wanted to make. Isn't it interesting when you hear reporters, some of them look like they're 14 years old or whatever, and they're covering these people in the streets with their signs about slaughtering the Jews, river to the sea, all the usual stuff about exterminating and obliterating Israel and Jews. And they're carrying around Palestinian flags. Some of them have Italian flags because they don't know the difference between the two flags. That's what we're dealing with. And it's true, I saw it with my own two eyes. Now that said, how do they know that most Palestinians don't support Hamas? Did somebody do a poll? And who did this poll? Did not the Palestinians vote Hamas into office? Okay, so tell me where I can go to speak to the Palestinian leader who says, leave the Jews alone. Does somebody have an office? Do they have a phone number? I'd love to bring them on TV, seriously. I can't find them. Then we have the moderate Palestinians, the Palestinian Authority, headed by Abbas, who was the so-called brains and funder behind the 1972 Munich attack on the athletes, the Israeli athletes, who were, by the way, horribly tortured. He's the moderate, funding terrorism. So the Congress passes and President Trump signs the Taylor Force Act. named after an American veteran who went to West Point, who was murdered by terrorists over in Israel. Because Congress said, that's enough. We're pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into the moderate Arabs, and they're slaughtering people, and the more they slaughter, the bigger the pension for the family. Why would you violate that law and continue to pour hundreds of millions of dollars into the Palestinian Authority? Or why would you continue to treat Qatar like it's the nation of Mother Teresa, when Qatar is housing the leadership of the Palestinians and funding Hamas? And what about this so-called NATO country, Turkey, which is led by an Islamist Nazi as well, this Erdogan? When he gives that kind of speech to his phony parliament, the way Xi gives his speech to a phony parliament, this guy's in NATO, and he keeps threatening us, if you don't sell me the F-16s, I'll get jets from Russia. Then go ahead. I don't think Russia has any jets to sell them right now, but you never know. Why aren't we putting pressure on these countries rather than Israel? And it is obnoxious to hear over and over again that the Israelis have to follow the rules of war, that the Israelis had to be proportionate. Unfortunately, in my view, the Israelis always do that. We don't always do that. When we dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan, was that proportionate? I think it was. But specifically aimed at civilians. When we and the British bombed Dresden, of course they had military facilities, but it was aimed at the civilians. Why? Because they wanted to put an end to the damn war. Japan wouldn't provide an unconditional surrender. People don't know the most casualties we ever had in a battle was Okinawa. Okinawa. And then when Truman hears you've got these guys fighting to the end and they were never going to surrender, and he's thinking, oh my God, we got a little island off of Japan. How are we going to defeat Japan? And then he learns about these atomic bombs. One was called the little, one was called the big. And he was thrilled to hear about it because he had not known about it. FDR hadn't read him into it. They weren't worried about how many civilians they would kill. They were worried that they would work. Those bombs were initially made to drop on Germany. Germany had been effectively defeated because Berlin was blown off the face of the earth, as were other cities in Germany. How many civilians did, quote unquote, we kill in Germany, Japan, and Italy? I'm sure there's some number on Google, but I don't know. And I honestly don't give a damn, because it was the right thing to do. And how many casualties were there in the Civil War? Unbelievable. There were 24 million people in this country. The most recent numbers based on further technology, they used to say 720,000 men lost their lives. Every family in the country was affected. Every single one. If there's evil, you either defeat it or you lose to it. We had the kamikazes in Japan. Well, consider Israel is surrounded by nations filled with kamikazes. That they will do anything they have to do because their perverse interpretation of their faith is you live to die. And my view is very simple. Let's accommodate them. God bless you.